Hello and welcome to Console Shock, retro and modern gaming chat with me, Trev, and as always, Stu.
Hey Trev, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. I nearly said your surname again. Then nearly doxed you.
We don't need to be saying
again.
You don't need to announce me my surname, my date of birth, and my national insurance number. That's not important.
I wasn't going to do those bits. It was just your surname, but certainly wouldn't do the national insurance number. That is, all credit card details or anything. It'd be a bit worrying if I knew that stuff, to be honest. I guess.
Yeah, actually,
exactly reciting
I think we're quite close, but I haven't ever divulged to you my national insurance number.
We're not quite there yet.
No,
we're getting there.
One day I'll tell you it.
I don't think my girlfriend knows my national insurance number. It's not something I do.
Do you know your national insurance number?
So I think I do actually. I mean, I'm not going to say it, but I think I've filled out so many forms over the tour. To be honest, it's normally when you change job, isn't it? When you end up putting it into stuff. But I've bounced around a fair bit when it comes to work, so yeah, it's not surprising that I've probably gotten to memorise it. Well, you get it when was it when you're 16 or something? Do
you remember it was a real big deal?
Yeah, it was
when
like
you were 15 and a half and you got your national insurance card.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was initially. I was like, what's this come to me in the post? And my dad sort of had to explain to me what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, that means you're a real person in the eyes of the government, I guess, isn't it really? But anyway, enough about national insurance numbers.
Actually, Trev, I wanted to make an announcement about next week. We got our 3 guests on next week.
Go on.
This
is interesting.
We've got 3 guests next week. We've got Kieran
Lady
Hawking,
Decade,
Lady Decade, and Top Hat Gaming Man coming on, talking about all their good charity work that they're doing. So that's next week's episode. Hope you're looking forward to it, guys.
I've asked them for 500 quid for the appearance. So I'll see if they'll be able to pay us that. I'm not sure if they'll be able to. They struggle with £500 payments specifically. So we'll have to. I mean, it's good thing that we're not in the PS3 era again, because they won't be able to buy one of them. Because that was £499.
PS triple.
The triple was for 500 quid, so they won't be able to buy that.
No.
Well, talking of characters that have blown up a bit of, ill will, shall we say, within the. I mean, I hate the term the community, the retro gaming community. It sounds just like a weird insular group of like. Well, it is a weird insular group. I don't really feel part of it, to be honest. I don't know if that's a bad thing to say or a good thing. I mean, also we have people on the show that we interview. I mean, some of them we kind of have been on more than once, so. You could almost consider them sort of casual sort of friends, but I don't really have any desire to go. I don't do any of the stuff that neither of us do, do any of the sort of typical big YouTube, we're obviously not big YouTubers, but big YouTube retro gaming YouTuber stuff. We don't go to the conventions or go and do talks or go. I mean, maybe if we were more popular, that might be something that we'd get asked to do. But I don't have really any interest. I mean, are you interested in doing any of that stuff?
I think if someone said to us, "Oh, we'd love you to come to our expo and to do," I think I'd be honoured. I think I'd be chuffed about that. I'm thinking, I'd certainly like to be asked and. I think I'll be quite chuffed about that. Just to sort of be honest, there.
That's probably the key, really. That's probably the key, really, isn't it? We're not really, I mean, it's not something we're bothered about, but
no. I mean, I don't think I've ever thought about it before you just mentioned it. Then,
yeah.
But,
well, in terms of just going off your own back, have you had any particular desire to do that? I mean, I'll give you my perspective. I mean, one, there isn't really any in London, particularly. So there's nothing for us down here, which is ironic because the rest of the country moans that, we get everything and have everything. But when it comes to the important stuff like retro gaming conventions, we don't really get any. Also, I guess there's like Eurogamer Expo, which we did go to many years ago. It's not. I mean, there's a little. I think they had a retro area when we went, but I don't know if they still do that. But we don't. But they all tend to be up north or in the Midlands, and it's a bit of a trek. I know if you really want to go, you'll just go. But Well, we've got Heart of Gaming, which is kind of cool, which I think is still going. Question mark.
I think so. Yeah.
So you've got a retro arcade. You know, there's barcades and stuff. We have those knocking around in London, but we don't really have anything else. But yeah, I'm not really. I mean, if the idea is to go and play old games, because I'm not necessarily going to know people there that I could just hang out with, unless you went with me, of course.
I'll go with you, Trev.
Oh, thanks.
I'll keep you company.
So yeah, I guess the idea of I'm going to go and see all the other YouTubers and hang out, you know, obviously that isn't a factor. And the fact that, you know, if you're going to go there just to play a bunch of old games, it's just cool to play old games. I can do that at home for free. So yeah, it just doesn't really do it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought, actually, would it be interesting to do a meetup? You know, would people be interested to meet in a pub in London? Would anyone come? You know, if we had a meet, I don't know.
None of them live down here, though.
That's it. You know,
who's the closest people really to us? I mean, potentially Larry Bundy.
I don't think we would know, but
Larry Bundy and like Kim Justice. I mean, she's based in Essex. Larry's in Watford. They're semi-close, but even there, it's still a bit of a trek to go to, I don't know, somewhere in central London or something. That would be. I mean, we like going to the pub, like anyway. And if they're all willing to come down to us, we'll totally be up for it.
Exactly, like something like that. I mean, I don't know. The thoughts never come up. You know, if anyone wants to go to the pub with us, send us an email. And, you know, if you volunteer to pay buy the first round, and it's in London,
exactly where we say it.
Exactly. So it's a convenient time.
You
know, it's a nice pub.
Ideally on the Elizabeth line, that would be great.
The Elizabeth line, yes, yeah.
So yeah, if you can put up with all of that, hell yeah.
No, let's do it. So anyway, that's it really.
You've got some stuff that you actually wanted to talk about.
I did, yeah. So
we haven't really got a central topic. We normally have a central topic, don't we?
Yeah.
But a lot of them lately, so we're going to be a bit more fluid in this one, I think. So yeah, sorry, Stu, go ahead.
No problem. I mean, obviously, I've sort of joked about it, but the old Lady Decade, Top Hat Gaming Man saga continues, and I don't know. It seems to be if you don't like someone, just
I haven't really kept up with it. I mean, obviously,
I don't really know.
I don't know if it's blown. I don't think it's blown up more or anything in like literally the last few days or anything. We did touch upon it in our last show, where we kind of, you know, took the mick out of it a little bit, because it is a little bit ridiculous.
It is, yeah.
I've watched a couple of videos, like on some of it, like a chap that I really like. And he actually sort of subscribed to us, so thanks for the sub. He Gadget UK. Oh my God! Nice. Sorry, I've forgotten your bloody. I've forgotten your handle. Gadget UK 84 or something. Basically, this chap has a channel where he does really awesome videos on repairing. Gadget UK 164. There you go. I know he's subscribed to us, so thanks for the sub on that as well. We really like your channel as well. I know he put a video out talking about the kind of ridiculousness of it. And I kind of agreed with most of what he said. I ended up going down a bit of a rabbit hole because he linked some other videos. And there was another kind of slightly odd channel called Funky Spectrum that I went on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the guy's a little bit very swearing, a bit shouty. Probably not really my cup of tea.
What? Sorry, who's this guy? Just so I can subscribe to him. UK Gadget?
Gadget UK 164. Yeah, do subscribe to him. Everybody should subscribe to him. He's got a great channel, lots of repairs and really cool stuff, retro gaming stuff. But yeah, via him, I sort of
that funky Spectrum guy. I think I was alluding to him in the last video, because he you know,
he's gone like nuclear on like Top Hat Gaming Man.
It's so funny. He gets so stressed about it.
Probably a bit too like over the top with it a little bit. I don't think you should really dive too far into anything in your life.
And he's I don't know. He's like I've got some new evidence that's come out. Oh, I've got some new evidence.
I mean, to be honest, if it's probably motivated a little bit, by it gets some views, probably. So you know what? If you're gonna, if I think that happens to a lot of YouTubers, if there's something that seems to be blowing up because of a particular video, you might think to yourself,
we're talking about it. We're talking about it here.
We're talking about it. You might be tempted to go down that sort of rabbit hole of, well, I'm just gonna, stroke the YouTube algorithm and just keep knocking out stuff about this one thing that everybody seems to have gone on my channel for. And I think probably there's an element of that because his other stuff isn't particularly, it's
like reviews of Spectrum games.
Spectrum games, like Let's Plays, fairly, standard stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, he's not, like I said, it's not quite my cup of tea because he's, like I say, very shouty, very sweary, a bit difficult to listen to, quite sort of acerbic, and he's really gone all out on Lady Decade and Top Hat Gaming Man. I'm not sure it's completely. I just don't think it's a good idea to really go nuts on anything like that because it's going to burn out eventually. You don't
want to be.
I even watched a video where he was sort of slagging off Octavius Kitten. Who to me, she's obviously kind of. I mean, she's not the most mentally. I don't want to offend anybody, but she's not super, happy and like mentally she's got some issues and life stuff going on, which is obviously terrible. And I feel for anybody that has that. But I think she probably gets a lot of people accusing her of being fake and all that because she's like basically a woman doing retro gaming. You're gonna, get that flack. I don't think she is fake. I think she's genuinely into this stuff.
I know. I watch her videos sort of when they come up, and they're I think they're pretty good, and it's I don't know. Sometimes it seems to be a you're less of a person if you do Patreon. You're less of a person if you have lots of subscribers. You're less of a person if you have you do adverts in your YouTube videos, and you're less of a YouTuber. And you're only a real YouTuber if you point a camera at the screen. And I don't know, but it seems odd. And talking about this, it was. There's a YouTuber I really respect. He's a great guy. I love to get him on the show.
Kieran Hawken.
Yeah, Kieran Hawken. We'll get him on again. There we go. Stirring it up.
Hogan himself.
And someone was like, "Oh, this terrible thing about Lady Decade and the Top Hat Gaming Man, and you should have an opinion on this and blah blah blah, and you have lots of subscribers. You should come out and make a statement."
Oh
about it. And this was the tweet to this person, and a few days later, and this person sort of just said, "Oh, I haven't really been following. I don't really have an opinion. I don't like to get involved in this." And that was it. It was just like, why are you forcing people to have an opinion on?
It's not earth-shattering stuff that's going to affect the economy or anything.
Hold on. I'm not. I'll come out and have an opinion if I've got an opinion on something. But it's like when they go into someone in the street. What's your opinion on nuclear disarmament in Russia?
Yeah, you need to have an opinion on it. It's important.
I'm against that. And that sounds wrong. Hold on. Why sort of forcing people to sort of have opinions on things? And
I mean, if you just want someone to tell you, if you just want someone to tell you they did the video games bad, and if that makes you feel better, that's kind of a bit, really. So I mean, we don't normally talk about them. I guess we have now, so we're shitting on our own, opinions. But I'll just sort of reiterate what we said last time, because I don't think anything's really changed. I'm following it beyond, the last week or so. But it was £500, and they clearly are fairly well off. I think. I'm not saying they're super rich or anything, but they've got nice house. They go on world tours of places. Yeah. They've got a huge video game collection. £500. I'm sure they could have come to an arrangement with the guys to do it in chunks if they really are that hard up. But probably just
exactly. But I think it's Yeah, I think we should move on and not really mention it again. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
We'll
I
wait at
think
least a week and then we'll,
yeah. Episode 108 will be dedicated to it. I just think it was maybe sort of how they dealt with it, and some people you can I think how that something will happen, and then it's just your reason to sort of jump on them because you don't really like them, and that's the issue. And if other people it happened to, and maybe they were liked more, it would be a sort of a different take on it. Maybe
Are we still talking about Lady Decade?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. So, Lady.
Anyway, moving on. End of it, Trev. End of it, Trev.
Yeah.
Right. Lack. What do you think about the lack of AAA games? Do you think there is a lack of AAA games?
Depends what you define as. I don't think there's a lack of them, is there really? But in terms of games that are like big, hyped, huge things, I mean, this year there's probably been Elden Ring, which I've only played a little bit, and it's not really my cup of tea. God, like, to be honest, my memory's like terrible these days anyway. But I mean, there has been sort of. I mean, there's God of War Ragnarok coming out again. I don't really, I'll probably end up getting that at some point, probably on the PC, but that'll be way down the line when it's on sale. To be honest, it doesn't really affect me too much because very rarely do I buy a AAA game the day it comes out. I mean, God, I couldn't really tell you. I've bought, to be honest, Switch games. That's the only real console that I buy physical games for. I don't. I've bought relatively new games. Well, actually, like the two Turtles games that came out recently. They weren't on day one, but I got them a couple of weeks later. The Cowabunga Collection and the Shredder's Revenge. I'm not sure they're not really AAA games. Not a big third-person 20-hour story-based thing or an RPG, but. Yes,
I mean, what sort of triggered it really was obviously I used to have the video game shop, and it seemed like every week there was a big new game coming out that was it seemed like a bigger deal, and now it seems they're maybe sort of fewer and far between. It seemed like every month there was every week, every couple of weeks, a big game, and I don't know, it just seemed there was more of them. I know I can't really back that up with sort of evidence. But
well, we've had one kind of a weird one. We've had Last of Us Part 1, which I'm not really that interesting because I completed the first game years ago. I don't really want to go back to it. I completed Part 2 about a few months ago now. And I really enjoyed it, but I don't really. The trouble is, I think like a remake that's not that far removed from the original. I feel like I could be playing something brand new, with the same amount of time that I might dedicate to like Last of Us Part 1. Probably just what puts me off something like Elden Ring. It's like the main campaign could still take you like 50 hours. I'm like, Jesus, I could like finish like 6 games in that time. Okay, they're going to be more, linear, which some people might scoff at, sort of third-person adventures or something. But they're the sort of games. It's just difficult for me to. You know what? Like these days, it's probably an age thing, which is going to make me sound like a real old fart. But I actually struggle sometimes just to be like, right, I'm going to play a game tonight. I'll jump on the sofa, when the evening kicks in, and I'll just start watching YouTube, and I'll end up going down a YouTube rabbit hole, and I won't even bother to. Turn on a console, and then the evening would have passed me by. I'm sort
of like that. Because at the moment, I say every week I'm playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I'm at 60 odd hours into it now, and I think I'm pretty close to the end. But what I always find is I hate the first hour of a game, because that's when it's like, oh, actually, yeah, I want to play this. To completion, or to as far as I can get, and I find that it's once I've sort of got hooked into a game, which is the first maybe hour or two, and I always think, oh, I've got to play it, oh, I'll do the tutorial, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, it'll be really simple at the beginning, blah blah blah, and but it's actually getting into the game. And then once I'm sort of hooked on it, then I really enjoy playing it. And I think I'll complete that. But I totally hear you. That is, I don't think I'll put my Xbox on for probably a couple of months because I've been playing purely my Switch and Xenoblade Chronicles, and I don't like playing 2 different games at once. I like to focus on one, and purely do that until I'm finished with it or I've completed it, and then I'll move on to something else.
I mean, the stuff that I've played recently has been fairly old. I mean, I recently completed Terminator Resistance. It's not a super old game. That's from 2019. But that's actually kind of a good game. And it's like the campaign's like about 8 hours. So it's nothing too,
perfect.
Not too much of a time sink. Yeah. I actually also I completed like a couple of nights ago, probably because of the Steam Deck, because the fact I could just pick up the Steam Deck and dive in a game that I've had for years and years. Aliens Colonial Marines, which is a game.
Isn't that going to be awful?
It's all right. It's not great. It was obviously lambasted when it came out because it's just very it's quite average. But like Aliens is like my favorite film like ever.
Yeah.
So it'll always be a bit more of an interest for me to play a game like that because it's about that film. So that again, it was an FPS, fairly laid back, easy to play. 8 hours again. I could just quite easily dip in and out of it, and it's a great sort of Steam Deck game as well. FPSs often are. I mean, in terms of like, I've got a list here of AAA games. I mean, there's been quite a lot that have come out. Elden Ring, we've already mentioned. God of War Ragnarok's coming out. That'll be something probably later on down the line I might try. Gotham Knights, I know a lot of people are dumping on it, but I did like the Arkham games. So, but again, it'll probably one I'll wait for a discount. Bayonetta 3. I like Platinum games. I know some people just, have like epileptic fits because they're just so like over the top and dramatic and like, full of, crazy like stunts and effects.
Yeah.
But I like that sort of game. I like the mechanic of, the way the combat works. So that I might, but I haven't played any of the other Bayonettas. Again, it's the one I've got on my Steam Deck, so I could play that. There's been a Pokemon game.
I think I played Bayonetta 2, but I just didn't. I didn't know what I was doing with the controls.
Yeah, I really liked.
Couldn't get my head around it.
Yeah, I really liked Transformers Devastation, which is a Platinum Games game. And everyone said to me, "Oh, if you like that, you should play Bayonetta because that's basically where that kind of style of game like originated." I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll give it a go." I think I picked it up in like a Steam sale for like £1.50.
Oh wow!
For the so I could play it on the Steam Deck. It's an older game, so it'll probably run really well on it. I think I've got the like the 360 version as well. I picked up at CEX like on a whim a few years ago. So yeah, that's one that I'll probably try. Gran Turismo 7. I got really into Gran Turismo 6 like last year.
Oh really? The PS3 PS triple one.
On the triple, really enjoyed it. Even though I hadn't really enjoyed a Gran Turismo before, which is kind of odd. But 6 was good. But I'm not too bothered about having a racing game right now. When I do play a racing game, it's just Forza 7. So I just dip in and out of that these days. Ghostwire Tokyo. Don't really know that much about it, so I'm not too sure on that one. Oh, the Callisto Protocol. Yeah, that I probably will seriously look at because it's made by the Dead Space guys. And it's basically Dead Space. I mean, the gameplay looks identical.
What do you think about the Dead Space remake that's coming out?
Yeah, I think I'm going to get that.
I thought you might.
I'll probably get it on PC because it's like 20 quid less than it is on console. Well, it's actually not on the last gen, is it? It's just Series X and PS5 only.
Well, that's good though.
But yeah,
I know you haven't got the next gen consoles yet, but on it's actually I think it's a positive thing that things are now being purely made for next gen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it might be too strong for the Steam Deck. It can just about it's been able to keep up with things. Well, I was going to say Spider-Man, but that's technically a last gen one. It isn't. It is a last gen game, isn't it? So I'm not sure if it'll run that well on a Steam Deck. But that I would like to play. It will run on my gaming laptop, I think, sort of low settings. But that I would like to play because, as much as we just mentioned, Last of Us, it was a bit redundant having a remake when the game isn't actually that old.
3 remakes, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, yeah. Dead Space 1 is from 2008, so there's a little bit more justified, and it looks really good. So that I would, even though I know the end. I assume the ending is going to be the same, and the story is the same.
But I think it's almost got to be a game inspired. You've got kind of here's the same scene from Dead Space 1. It's got to be, there's got to be more to it, and.
Well, there's things that are quite janky in the first game that they got better in the later games. Like there's bits we have to traverse in a zero gravity environments, and the controls are a bit janky in the first game, but they're way better in 2 and 3. So I think they've ported that into the remake of the first one. So those bits might not be as annoying as they were in the first game. But yeah, no, you're right. Like reimagining the set pieces in new ways to take advantage of modern technology, but probably the story is basically the same. And I know they've changed, like, each sort of mission in the original kind of 360 version was kind of separated by, you got on like a train that's inside
a really long lift.
Oh yeah, it's always something like in other games, isn't it? Right? Yeah, a lift or a big corridor. In Dead Space, it was like you got on like a transit system that would take you to the next part of the spaceship. But apparently now, I think they've got rid of that. You just walk to the next bit, and you can just walk back to the previous mission area and do other things. So that'd be kind of cool. I mean, you could go back before, but you have to sort of get back on the transit, and you'd have to wait for it to load, and it'd be a bit sort of jarring. So they'll see the more memory and hard drive space and RAM. They're also using that, but that I probably will get. I mean, it's £50, I think, which is quite expensive.
But that's talking about money. But that's almost like the reason I think for the lack of AAA games is now that they cost so much. So people are saying this for 10 years, but they're like Hollywood movies, and people always talk about Grand Theft Auto. It costs or what was it? Red Dead Redemption. It cost 300 million to make, and
they're harder to make than films.
Exactly. Yeah. And then when I'm playing, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and to me it's a really big game, and it's just there's so much sort of content, as in you got to do this mission, do that, and then they've all got voice acting, they've all got some sort of story, lots of thoughts gone into it, and it's this sort of massive world and things like that, and and I may be going back to the sort of the 360 era of games when it seemed like there were sort of new franchises starting all the time, and if you remember things like what was it, The Darkness, and then there was
Darksiders and
Darksiders starting. There was that game Wet, and there was always this
Remember Me and all kinds of new. Some of them got sequels as well. Yeah,
like Lost Planet. It was constantly sort of
Vanquish.
That was made by Platinum Games, wasn't it?
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, there was always these sort of new franchises coming out. There was always these games, and you might argue, actually, it's
and the game we all talked about.
Game.
The game we all talked about on the 360, Terminator Salvation.
Oh, you bloody Terminator!
That was a big one. Sorry, I thought I'd get that in there. Very worth getting because it's only 4 hours long and it's really easy to get 1000G. So
yeah, I should get it just for that reason.
Yeah, but it's the only reason to get it. No, you're right though. I think we've got back to the sort of prices of games where they're at in the sort of cartridge days, really. When Mega Drive and Super Nintendo, I think if I go back and get open a copy of the Special Reserve mail order catalog, maybe they're a bit cheaper than what I remember. But I feel like a new release. I always think there was a £10 difference between the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, like Mortal Kombat 3. When it came out, it was $49.99 on the Mega Drive and $59.99 on the Super Nintendo. But then we got to the Saturn and the PS1, and all of a sudden all the games were £40 and £45 at most. So we actually got a bit of a drop. I think we all sort of said that at the time. Like, oh, cool, games are a bit cheaper. But because they're obviously on discs now, there wasn't any chips were being bought. To be honest, they probably could have sold them actually cheaper if they wanted.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's more sort of, due to sort of the pricing is, I don't know, games actually with inflation, they're actually a lot cheaper than what they would have been.
Yeah, they are really, I would say.
If you put in like Street Fighter 2 into the price calculator,
it'd be £100
inflation,
easy now, right?
And it was like £64.99. That's probably over £100 in 2022's money.
And you would argue the value for money kind of probably wasn't really there in a lot of cases. I mean, Street Fighter 2, really, you could, you complete the arcade game in like half an hour. I know that the longevity is you learn all the characters and get all the endings. So it is several hours potentially. Probably a lot more than that if you want to complete it on the hardest difficulty and learn all the moves. But yeah, I mean, a game like, Outrun on like the Mega Drive, I mean, it's like, literally like 20 minutes, so for 60 quid or whatever it would have been then. Yeah,
I think you get a lot more value for games now, and I think games are coming out with things like a different model. And Pro Evolution Soccer is a great example of that. It's now eFootball. FIFA. Why they still charge 50 quid for FIFA with all the money they make from Ultimate Team? And that in my opinion should be maybe less basically.
I think it should be DLC really they should make a big major release. Once every maybe 2 years, possibly 3, and you'd have in the in-between years, you just get a DLC, for 20 quid. Well, they wouldn't charge that; it'd be like 40 or something, won't it? But yeah, with the kits and the players, and you get a big, huge upgrade in 3 years' time of a new engine and all that kind of crap. I can't see that ever happening.
Because I don't. I mean, I don't play FIFA that much, and the one I do play is on the Switch. It's FIFA 18. It's quite good on a flight or something, and do a bit of that. But people that invest a lot of money into Ultimate Team, and then all of a sudden you lose it all when the new one comes.
Yeah. It's also with the career mode. I don't think I've ever actually kind of quote unquote completed it, because you basically, we talked about it before, where I like the mode in FIFA where you make your own little player, and you're basically just that player. Like an RPG, and you sign for different teams, and you can either control that one player, or I don't do that. I control the whole team with just him. Normally players have my little player be a striker, and obviously try and create as many chances for him to build the stats up and everything. It's really good fun and really, really addictive. But I often sink like a couple 100 hours into that mode, but I've never actually got to the point where, and I think that the aim is to sort of win everything and then get to the age of 36 or something, and then you retire. And I don't know if you get a big achievement unlock at the end of that, or you just kind of, there's credits. I've never got that far, because then the next game will be out and I'll just buy it when. I don't buy FIFA when it comes out anymore. It's just completely pointless. I just buy it when it's on sale, like 9 months later. The only one I'm playing at the moment is FIFA 22. I got on Steam for like 11 quid.
Exactly. You might as well for that reason. And another thing related to sort of AAA games, it was in the the 99s and the zeros, and maybe up to 2015, they used to have big launches, and now I don't know. The games don't seem to have as big a launch. If you know what I mean, a bit like people waiting outside, shops. And
I don't think I've ever in my entire life gone to a shop to buy a game on launch day.
Well, I certainly haven't.
I mean, I'm not talking about in the last 15 years when there's been Amazon or something. I'm talking like even in the 90s. I mean, there was a couple of times, or to be honest, when you were a kid, you've probably very rarely got a game on launch day because you have to wait for your birthday and Christmas. You can just buy a game willy-nilly, and I was certainly no different. But even then, if I happen to have the money in a game, God, I'll have to really struggle. But it has to be something like, I remember getting International Superstar Soccer 98 for the N64 on the day it came out. But I ordered it. I ordered it via mail order. The special reserve catalog. I pre-ordered it. In that, you obviously have to send a check in those days to do that. But you would send a check, and if that covered the whole thing, great. Otherwise, well, you could call up and pay credit card. I think maybe I did that. My dad let me use his or something. But yeah, that was even that. You know, it was just like posted out to me. You know, so and since then, I've always just bought stuff online. I very, very rarely. The only shop that I buy games from is CEX. I'm sorry to say, and occasionally an indie secondhand game shop if there's one near me, and there isn't. I live in southeast London. There's, you know, basically CEX. You know, we don't have any indie. I mean, do you have anything like that near you in Beckenham?
No. CEX in Bromley is probably the closest.
Is that a bad thing? Do you think? Oh, there needs to be more. How like CEX is crap. No one should go there. Go and support your indie.
They are what they are. They you know, they sell the games and no one else really does. Around me.
Hard to argue with
there is a game there as well, and they do secondhand, obviously games.
I mean, was it a big issue? Because you obviously had your shop and you kind of ran, you know, side by side. There's 2 CEXs in Croydon, I think.
No, it's only ever been. Oh yeah, there was at one point. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there's like one in the high street, and one near the station. I think in the East Croydon station.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's like that now. But did you think it was an issue that they were there? Do we like, oh bloody hell, we would have sold more games?
Well, I mean, I think we probably would have sold more if they weren't there. But then on the other hand, is you know if your business can only survive if you're the only person doing it and no one else is doing it, and anyone else that comes along is going to take that away, then you probably got to look at your business. And but you know, you got to. I mean, I'd love to see sort of CEX's figures. And you know,
they have them in the window. They've got loads of figures. They've got all the amiibos. They've got.
Well, no, what I'm talking about, Trev, as you well know, is actually how much money they make from phones, laptops. You know,
that's got to be most of their money,
games,
right?
Consoles. Yeah. And then, but they seem to devote a lot of their shop space to, you know, Xbox One games, PS4 games, and obviously they make money from them. And you know what actually is their share of, sort of where does their money sort of come from? You know, what's their biggest driver? And I don't think that is video games.
I feel like every time I go into the CEX in Woolwich. Which is actually a pretty decent one. I've bought a lot of retro games in there. I feel like normally if it's semi-busy, and also there's some that's just dead and there's no one really buying anything. But if it's anything more than that and it's semi-busy, there's normally always someone at the counter selling a phone every time. The phone business has got to must outweigh. There might be, maybe you can look this up somewhere. Someone's done a report on it. But in my mind, I think it's probably the mobile phones. Mobile phones, general tech, I would say, that goes with that, like Apple Watches and like other forms of phones and laptops.
Yeah, graphics cards.
Then probably after that would be like last gen consoles. Probably, I think the retro gaming aspect is probably a little bit way down there, but I think the margins are quite high.
I think with the retro gaming, the Xbox 360 game, stuff like that. That must be, in all honesty, such a small percentage of their market, and you know.
I think it makes. I think each individual sale makes them a lot of money, though. I mean, if they have a fairly, like, not even a particularly remarkably rare, like Mega Drive game, like I don't know, Castlevania: The New Generation, or Probotector. Apparently Konami games is all the ones I'm naming. They'll buy that off someone. Excuse me, they'll buy that off someone for like, I don't know, 20, 25 quid, 30 quid. I haven't looked it up. I don't know what it is, but they'll sell it for like over 100. So, you know, an individual sale, that's probably worth 20 Xbox 360
I know, but
games.
Trev, you know what they've got to do is they've got to buy it for someone for 20 quid. And then they've got to send it to someone who buys it for £100. That person who buys it for £100 goes, oh, it's a bit creased. Oh, I lost.
Goes on the CEX retro.
I lost the CEX lottery.
Then
they've got to send it back and then
you missed a step. Make the YouTube video of here's my latest CEX lottery unboxing. Did I win? Make that video, and then Stu next
send it back.
Yeah,
and then they go, oh, I've just sent it back to CEX in Rotherham. Don't buy Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Disc 3 or the disc is scratched slightly.
Yeah,
and the music's a little bit off. And then so someone else buys it, they send it all out, and they go, oh, the box has got a crack in it, and then they send it back, and that's what they got to.
Stu, wait a minute. I'm getting a little kind of a vibe from you right now.
What do you mean?
I think you're suggesting. Obviously, correct me if I'm wrong. This is just just throwing this out there to see if it's accurate. So in advance, just putting that disclaimer there. I'm getting a sense that you, sir, there, Mr. Stewart, think that retro gaming collectors, of which, me and you probably are in that weird bunch of people.
Yeah.
They're a bit fussy.
Well, maybe if these retro game collectors,
are
went
you like
to the
that?
shops to buy the games, or
would you say you're like that in terms of your collecting?
I think if I'm buying, actually, the 3 places where I would buy a retro game from is one, a shop, so you can look at it first and make sure it's acceptable.
Oh yeah.
Or
definitely agree.
the fact is you might want to play the game and you're not fussed. You're not fussed that there's a teacup stain on the front of the manual. Or
you can do that. You can play them.
Yeah.
Well, you just put them in your shelf for your video, so it's in your background.
Sit behind you.
Yeah.
Or the second option is to actually buy it off eBay.
Which is a bit better.
You can see all the photos of it
and
things like that, or buy it off a Facebook group and be able to, have a conversation.
You might pay a little bit more than CEX potentially, but you'll see it. Yeah.
You'll see it potentially. You might even pay less. You might pay less.
The
point is you can see the game. I guess that's the only real sort of 2 options is go to a shop or actually sort of buy it online, and but from somewhere you can actually see the product. And the problem with buying stuff from the CEX is that you can't see the product before you buy it. And if you're very, very fussy, and their
standards are very crap. It's basically boxed, mint, or unboxed.
Exactly.
There's more subtleness to that.
You speak very highly about the CEX in Woolwich, but the CEX in Canterbury might be, they don't know what they're doing, and they might just treat it like it's a lot of rubbish. So that's it is a lottery, buying the games from sort of CEX.
I think I've been in that one in Canterbury, and I tried to buy Everybody's Golf for the PSP, and they didn't have the game. What? They had the box, took it up to the counter. It's a weird one in Canterbury. I think, am I getting this mixed up with another one maybe? But I think it's this one. It's quite one of those. There's lots of them that are quite narrow, aren't they? They're very deep but narrow. I think the Canterbury one is like that. So I took the box up to the counter because it was like £1, and it was like a game that I was after on PSP. And they're like, sorry, I can't find the game, and it was annoying because the game had the manual and everything that would have been complete. But yeah. Anyway, that was just a story about CEX Canterbury.
Well, if you go to Canterbury, go to Level Up Games in Canterbury. Very, very good shop.
Yeah, every time I go, they're closed because they're open in like odd hours.
What are you doing going there at the middle of the night, Trev? What are you doing there? You go there between 9 and 5, and they'll be open.
Oh no, that won't make a difference, mate. I was there on just like a Tuesday.
Oh, that's your problem.
2 in the afternoon,
Tuesday,
and they were like, "No, we're closed." How about it's their problem? All right, they should be open.
You went there with your checkbook open, ready to spend some big London money.
And you know where I went after that? CEX to get my to try
Everybody's
and buy
golf.
Yeah,
for £1.
Yeah, I didn't even get that far.
I've got another subject I want to talk about, Trev. I'm bored of that subject. CEX.
Yeah, Lady Decade.
Lack of law. No, Top Hat Gaming, man.
Yeah.
The Series X. It's not got much power, is it? It's holding everyone back. Games aren't being developed because of the Series S.
Yeah.
The Series S, what a load of rubbish. It's not in 4K. It's
How many
just
Ks
like
is it?
1080p. It's holding everything back, Trev.
Has got enough. It's doing
It's
the
got no
video games
power.
bad. It's doing the video games bad.
No. It should be mega flops,
It is a bit
teraflops,
weird. It is
hundreds of them.
Yeah, it is. I get that they've kind of. It's the idea is to have a cheaper thing that they might sell higher volume of units, but I don't really see the point. I think have the Series X, maybe do a cheaper sort of SKU. Without basically like what Sony have done with the PS5, take out the optical drive or something, or give it a smaller hard drive and just sell that a bit cheaper. You probably wouldn't be able to get it down to, was it 250, I think, the Series S, which is a great price for a quote unquote next generation system. But I don't really see the point. I haven't seen any sales figures for how many that sold versus the other consoles, but it made sense, like with the Xbox 360. You had the arcade edition, which didn't have a hard drive.
Yeah,
but
but
it was still the same
less storage. It's the same hardware.
But it was still a good like 80
odd.
quid, I think. Was it 70, 80 quid cheaper? Which was still a great option, but it was the same hardware. So the developers didn't have to try and target it, especially, or account for it. It should have really have done that sort of approach. So yeah, I
think you're right, but I mean, I almost want to sort of try and sort of understand the power sort of issue. And I think the issue is now moving into, and we touched on it earlier, with most games are coming out for now. It's looking like they're coming out for the PS5 and the Xbox series of consoles. And the point is that the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are both around the same level. And then you have the Series S, which is like a light version, a cut down version. And so they've got to, when they make the games, they have to accommodate, well, actually, we want it to look good at 4K on these two machines, but don't forget, it's also got to look good at 1080p or 1440p on the Xbox Series S. Otherwise, we got to think about that. And what my worry is that let's say the next Grand Theft Auto 6, when they make that, they go, hold on, right, we have to make sure it works all right on the Series S, and then that will lead to the Series X or the PS5 experience might not be as good.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to cause like the video game apocalypse or anything.
So it's not going to be like 1983 again.
Yeah, not going to be like, we had to dial everything down to 480p just so we can make it run on the series. If they really want to, I know it's a requirement that they have to include, as part of their licensing agreement of Microsoft, you have to make it work on the Series X to a high level or something. I don't know what sort of standard they would insist that you did it with. But I mean, the video game industry's managed to get on with different, powered devices that are running simultaneously without anything. The Wii was running alongside the PS Triple and the Xbox 360. Obviously, there wasn't really the same games couldn't really run on it. Often what would happen is you'd get kind of a baby version of a multi-plat game that would be farmed out to another developer, and then, it's probably a little bit different when we're talking like the Series S because it's technically the same console, so you can't really make a separate version of the game that might be completely different for the Series X. Or you need the same
I think
build.
you still a game that will come out. It probably won't be on the Switch in reality, but it will be on the PS5. It will be on the Xbox series of consoles, and it'll be on the PC. So with the PC, some people are running, GTX 960s,
Idiots.
And then yeah, exactly right. And then some people are playing GTX, 4090s.
Yeah,
so there's a huge different sort of scope there. So I think they've almost got to bring a little bit of that thinking in and say, okay, right, well, all it's got to do on the Series S is play at 1080p, 60 frames. That's what we're targeting there. And then the Series X, that's where it has to do 4K and the 120 frames and or at least more solid sort of performance. And So, I mean, I'm not a programmer. I don't know how difficult it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how common like our setup is, but I don't have any of the gadgetry that would take advantage of all the high end PS5 and Series X kind of stuff. I don't have 120 hertz 4K
No.
screen. I still play off a crappy like 1080p screen, which is fine for me. Obviously, I'd rather there was high frame rates. You know that should be the you know, kind of the minimum. Really, should be 60 frames a second. But anything beyond that is kind of lost on me a little bit at the moment. I'm sure when those TVs become a bit more standard that they're targeting at the high end, that'll be, you know, more people will have them and it'll be more people experience that. It'll probably just play out kind of like we've already seen with when we had the, you know, the sort of in between consoles, the upgraded consoles of the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. They still had to, you know, the games still had to run on the base consoles. I mean, it kind of, you know, some of those games are actually kind of broken in some ways, or they were very, very compromised when like Red Dead Redemption 2 on the Xbox One base. Oh. You know, it ran, you could play it fine. There's nothing broken about it. It was just a, you know, sub HD, I think, resolution, and it would dip under 30 frames a second. But this is like right at the end. Well, not quite at the end of the generation, but getting into that point. And I think, you know, Forza 4 came out on, I think Forza 5 works. Forza Horizon, you can play on a series on an Xbox One S. And again, it's probably going to be the Digital Foundry. I think I've done a video on that. You can go and watch it, and you can see how much they've had to dial everything down. But I think it will just be like that when we get to sort of 6-7 years.
But what the issue I think I have with that is that that's just adding more cost, more time into game development. And
yeah, I mean, I don't know what the impact is. I hear different stories from different developers. Some said, "Oh no, it's fine. We just have ways of optimizing. It doesn't take too much effort." Others are like, "No, it's ruining our development cycle. We have to get rid of we have to always dial everything down, and we're struggling with it." So I don't really know. I think the truth is in the middle, kind of really.
I think obviously it's got to be more work.
Yeah, there's definitely we can't say
there's more work. How much work has got to be involved so it's optimized for the Series S? But then you know, if you think about it, the Series S, you know, they've certainly sold lots of them, and I think it's been a little bit of resurgence in Japan where people will be buying the Series S because they like Game Pass and they like actually how small the console is. And that works much better in sort of Japanese homes. So there is a sort of a great install base for the Series S, and so you know, I never had a plan to get one, and I won't get one in the future. I've got a Series X, but you know, I think there is certainly a market for that console.
Yeah, I mean, they've had to deal with this stuff in the past with every console generation. There'd be a system that's a bit weaker. Probably, I mean, was that weakness more pronounced before? Maybe not. I don't know. Like I mentioned, like, you know, the 7th gen when you had the Wii, but they just kind of made a separate game. I mean, that's obviously more effort for the developer, but I think they'll pass it on to someone else to develop it. So I'm sure that still costs them money. They've got to pay those other guys to do it, but and they probably would rather they didn't have to do it. But yeah, I mean, I think what it'll end up as when you get to, like, you know, when we get to 2026, 2027, and you know, that era is, you know, mature and probably winding down at that point. I think when we get to 2026, 27, we'll probably be seeing the next gen consoles like PS6 and Xbox Series, Xbox One Series X and Xbox 2 Series X and Xbox 2 Series S. You'll probably find that the games obviously at that point, the games will just be being made for the PS5 and the Xbox Series, but the Xbox Series S version, it would run at like 720p and 30 frames a second, and that'd be as good as you'll be able to squeeze out of it. Still playable, you can still play it, but you know, it would just be a not as good version, much like when you buy a multi-plat Switch game, really. And maybe they won't. I mean, if all the developers are moaning about it, they might think twice on the next gen. They might be like, do we really want to knock out is it easier for us just to sort of take bits out of our
do
main console
one machine, but
do one machine, not include an optical drive on one version? That will knock
but
off
I almost
quid.
I think the next generation of consoles will be, you know, the Series X Pro. It will almost be, it will just be the same thing, but you know, it's all PC based, and you know, it'll have the same family of processor, but a much faster one, and you know, it's almost, it should be an update of the console that we got now. And
I think there'll probably be, I mean, I think people are expecting pro versions of it, which will probably be in potentially another couple of years, I guess. I mean, we had the Xbox One and the PS4 came out 2013.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be pro versions, Trev.
What makes you say that?
Well, I think because if you remember the PS4 and the Xbox One, they came out and really they were a little bit underwhelming, a little bit, you know, lacking in the performance.
I think people were whelmed. I think they were whelmed. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to explain to me later what that word means, but
it's more than underwhelmed, but less than overwhelmed.
I get it. Yeah, exactly. It was a leap up, but then hold on, it could have been, you know, so much more. It wasn't
as big as like the 360 over PS2.
No,
near as big as that.
Exactly. Yeah. But then I think they learned the mistakes from that. And the Xbox Series X, the PS5 have come out and they go like, power, you know, let's smash it. And I was waving my fist then. And they've actually,
that's good to know.
You know, there are a lot more. There isn't that, you know, people aren't going, there's just not enough power in Xbox Series X to power this game. There's not enough power.
Yeah, no one's really saying that particularly.
So I don't think there's going to be a pressure on, you know, I'm not saying they're not going to do a pro or, you know, a mid-gen upgrade. And you know, but I think the upgrade will be
the odds are lower, I think, than they were last time.
Yeah,
I mean, no one really expected it last time at all. It was kind of a surprise when they announced the PS4 Pro.
A little bit, but I think it will be more. The upgrade will be, we're doing the Xbox Series X with 2 GB or 2 terabytes, or we're doing it with
no optical drive,
no optical drive,
or
you know, or a faster storage device. It'll be things like that rather than a wholesale change.
Same kind of GPU, same CPU, so it can do the same. You don't need to, you know, scale down a game to run on it, but you'll just get a not as strong personal experience. The game will take longer to load, or you can't just go out and buy the disc because you haven't got an optical drive. But you save like 60, 70 quid over the, you know, the regular version. I think that'll be the approach. Yeah, I guess it depends as well. I don't really know how successful the PS4 and the One X were. No one's really said, they sold, you know, 50 million units.
I think the One X. I think the One X was that was successful for
Did
Microsoft.
They sell I don't think they sold in did they sell in the tens of millions though on top of the regular versions?
I don't know, but it was something that needed to be done because the Xbox One was very underwhelming. But I think the PS Pro was, I thought, the PS Pro's out. Who's going to buy a PS4 now? And then everyone carried on buying PS4s.
Yeah, I think they probably.
And it didn't really, to me, it didn't feel like a real upgrade. It was an upgrade, but to the consumer, it was, you know, some people were buying it, and it actually became a gaming machine for, you know, a solid 60 at 1080p, where the Xbox One X became, it can do 4K at 30 frames a second and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you've touched on it already, and you're completely right that they were a bit underpowered when they got released. But I think they also released it in a very awkward era in terms of like display technology. 1080p screens were well established in 2013. Most people had them, and 4K screens were starting to get cheap, and they were starting to filter into the mainstream. But those consoles didn't target those at all. But whereas now, 4K screens are fairly cheap and fairly common, so it made sense for for them to target those resolutions. And also the media and the general pub gaming, hardcore sort of core gaming public are constantly banging on about everything should be 60 frames and above, and they heard that basically Microsoft and PlayStation targeted hardware that could achieve that. So that's why we got these very powerful consoles that are still pretty powerful 2 years on. So yeah, you're probably right. I don't think there might not be a need for a mid-gen refresh, but you never know. I think it's more likely till there's a next gen. I think that's probably what will happen. But it depends. I mean, you're saying it's sold quite well, the Series S. So if it sells really well,
I'm not privileged to the sales numbers, but it was Rich from Review Tech USA, our favorite YouTuber, and I'm actually quite chuffed. He's gone back doing gameplay videos rather than himself fucking taking his shirt off and kissing a chicken all the time.
I watched the bloody video today though, where he had he made a joke about Darkside Phil at the start. That was about 20 seconds. He did about another minute talking about his live stream. Then he had another minute talking about Cameo. I had to go to about 2 minutes into the video to get to the actual shit he was going to talk about.
Exactly. But what it said was, Microsoft had their best ever Q1 sales, or no, the Xbox division ever. And that's all down to, Game Pass and I don't think actually, obviously they want to sell consoles, but I think they want to get people signed up to Game Pass. That's the most important thing to them.
Yeah. It's like Sky, we'll sell the boxes we'll give them away for free, and we make the money from the subscriptions. And if the Series S sells by bucket loads, then they'll feel when the next gen comes, we definitely need to have a budget version that's got different hardware that's cheaper for us to sell. If it isn't, and it doesn't sell particularly great, then they won't do it. And that's what everything comes down to at the end of the day in this industry, how well it sells. People aren't going to repeat something if it didn't work out in the first place.
No, exactly.
I think the best idea, which is proven, is to attach things onto the console that upgrades the graphics, because that always worked out. Sega were great with that. Look how that turned out.
Well, that's it. You should be able to get a CD drive to fit underneath the Xbox Series S.
Yeah.
So sit on the top, and you have to put like a metal sheet between them.
The Series S32X.
Yeah, exactly. And, plug things in. That'd be much better.
Have a nice library of games that only work with that setup. That always works.
Trev, I can smell my dinner cooking.
Oh, it's burning, you mean?
It's burning.
I could see smoke on your webcam there, mate. I'll go and check on it. Well, anyway, in that case, I guess we better let you go and get your dinner, right?
I know. Yeah. Thank you very much, Trev.
The rustlers you got going ain't going to eat itself, is it?
So. No, exactly.
Well, where can you catch us then, Stu?
Well, we're all over the net, the internet superhighway.
Yeah.
So you can find us on Console Shock. So it's http:///www.consoleshock.net.
You're not sure it's
do you want me to repeat that?
You're sure it's not HTTPS?
Oh, it could be.
I'm sure we use secure websites.
Do you know? Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Yes.
We're all over security.
Yeah.
And then on Facebook, so if you search Console Shock, I'm not going to read out the HT. What was it? The hyperlink for that? Is that what it's called?
That's it. Yeah. That's what the kids call it.
And we're on the Twitter. The Twitter.
Tweeting device.
We're all over that, Console Shock. And we're all over YouTube. You can find us on consoleshock.net. No, Console Shock, just search Console Shock on YouTube. We're all over it.
Thanks, Stu. Well, this is Trev and Stu of Console Shock UK signing out. Have a good one.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.